Hello, everyone. Sorry, if you can hear me, kindly drop a message just to be sure that my mic is on. All right, thank you, Abdurrahim. Boluwatife, thank you. Boluwashion, thank you. All right. So at least that's an evidence that my mic is working. So we just want to wait for the other guys to join. I think when we are up to like 10, that's a good way to start. We are still like 5 here. Let's just wait for the others to join. Hello, guys. I think we can all. Our mic is working now, so it's fine if you want to speak. Hi, Abdul Gafar. Can you guys hear me? Olayinka Oluwaseun Sam, are you there?
I'm here. Olanka is here.
All right. Okay, that's nice. So I just had to unmute all the mics so that I can get to meet the people that I want to train today.
Okay.
All right. So how many are we? We are still less than 10. I just want us to be 10 so that I can just start the class. Or while we are waiting, I think it's better for me to just introduce myself and get to meet some of the people here instead of wasting time to wait for the other people to join. So my name is Adini, and I know you've been getting maybe one or two emails from me. So my name is Adini. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, and I'm a cloud engineer. So the essence of this training is just to introduce people to Microsoft's cloud, which is Azure. I know some of us might know it, but at the same time, I said this training is for the new guys that are just starting in tech, and even a refresher course for the people that are into cloud already. That's the established cloud engineer. So it's a refresher course for them. So I would like to get to meet some of us here since we are not that many. So I think it's better for me to just get to know your experience. Proud to hearing about Microsoft Azure Cloud from me. I believe some of us have heard about it before now. So I just want us to use the another 2, 3 minutes to get to meet ourselves here so that I know the people that I'm training. Right. So who wants to go first? Olu, you want to go first? All right.
Yep. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I believe it's morning for my end. I don't know what others.
It's fine.
I'm Buluwatefe Ogundili. So I currently practice as a cybersecurity engineer here in Lagos, right? And I think my company is trying to migrate into Azure. So I'm even required to take a certification on AGS 500 because they believe that we have the prerequisite knowledge with our other engagement, like with IBM and like IBM SIM and the likes, right? So, but I'm the kind of person that I don't like to do dumpster. When I say dumpster, everyone know what dumpster is, right? I don't like to just. I have colleagues that have done dumpster with this 500 and
Sure.
they're fine. But I
All
kind of person
right.
that I like to know if at all you want to probably use a dumpster to let's say get a feel of what the question is going to be. It's going to be really confusing to be able to get it because I've seen crash courses on YouTube, right? And it didn't just come together at the very end. But just this past week, I ran into a course, is a 500 course on Coursera because I like structured learning, I like visual learning, I like understanding from the business, not just jump because majority of all those because I know understand the tech journey. There are so many things that are not always said in YouTube videos, they are not always thorough. There's always so many things that I skip that is being assumed because I think when I started my tech journey, when I look at some tutorial, I was like, this person will not know this thing if he does not have this prerequisite knowledge. There's no you're
Mm,
telling me crash course, right? And you will expect me to know something because you are talking from there's no how you want to break it down to some extent because it's a YouTube video, you want to get views, you want to make money from it. So I needed something. So I've been installing on it, but I was happy when I ran into a Coursera course on him is F500, and for real, it's been really insightful for me. Although I'm using the free version, I'm trying to get to rush it because I don't want to have to pay 60 something dollars, right? So when I saw this, also I said, okay, it's a good one. If at all I'll not do is a 900 with the understanding from this particular learning, it will also give me a wider. But I believe Azure is really interesting because with my 500 knowledge, I really want to know more about Azure because it's kind of very interesting because it brings everything into the cloud for you, such that even it wants to help you manage your on-premise devices and all those kind of things. It doesn't need you, just more like it's bringing everything into a particular space for you. So I'm very happy to be here, right? And I look forward
nice.
to learning more.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Bolu.
Yeah.
All right. Who wants to go next? I guess people are shy to talk. So I want this class to be as interactive as it can get so that it doesn't get bored, You don't get bored at the point. We need to, interact. So that's why I had to unmute people's mic so that I can get to. Okay, Oluwasho, I can see your hands up, please. Can speak. Hello. Okay. Am I here to unmute you? No, you can unmute your mic. Okay. I think this should be from your end. You can unmute it because I've activated all the mics already, except for the people that just joined. I've allowed them to. All right. So I think at this point we just have to start. What's the time? 1:14. Olayinka wanted to. Okay, Olayinka, go ahead if Sean cannot, is unable to unmute his mic.
Okay, so I'm Olayinka Omolabi. I currently work as a technical support engineer at Tech Expert Nigeria. I support Microsoft Office and Windows for consumer level. So I'm looking forward to having vast knowledge in Azure and getting a certificate.
All right. Thank you, Olayinka. Who else want to go next? Can we just make it snappy so that we can, we have little time to spend here. So I just want us to see how fast we can go. Okay, if people are shy to talk, I guess I will just delve into the class straight away. Let me share my screen.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, we have someone here.
Good day, everyone. My name is Abiodun Ibrahim, and I um I started my cloud journey some years back, and prior to that time, I was actually working as a cloud as a network engineer. Dealing with the on-premises environment and IT troubleshooting and all. So you see, I realized, when during my time as a network engineer, right? It was during it happens to be the time when I realized that on premises and our local infrastructure is actually going into how will I put
Extinct.
it, probably extinct. Exactly. So people are actually moving. I realized that most of the organization are actually migrating into cloud environment, and most of those of some of us who are actually into the on-premises networking are actually looking like, okay, we are actually lacking behind. So I took the opportunity to enroll in some courses in which I actually understand the points where was it Olayinka or Boluwatife was talking about, like, most of these courses that you see online are actually not going to take you through the basics, right? Except you enroll in some courses which will give you the fundamental knowledge in cloud. So what actually helped me in this journey was actually the fact that I was able to join an organization where all these are actually being, we have the platform, we were able to work with the products, in real time. Like, the environment was so supportive that we have SMEs, we have environment, we have opportunity for courses, we have opportunity to liaise with customer who are actually using this product on premises or in the real life, like, so some of those things will now be we now you now be you now get to know that, oh, this thing I've actually been watching videos on this thing all this while, but me being able to get into the real life actually opening my eyes into most of these things. So, well, that was when I started to gain to get to understand what the cloud concept, the cloud infrastructure, everything has to do with cloud. And after my stay with the company, I I was happen to get into another organization where I am currently working as a DevOps engineer, focusing on Azure DevOps and more of containerization, Kubernetes monitoring and all. So this course is actually going to be a kind of refresher for me in the cloud domain, which I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, Adeni, for this wonderful course.
That's a good one. Thank you so much. So I think at this point we just have to start. Okay, Oluwaseun, can you now? Okay, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, just few seconds.
All
So
right.
I'm Oluwaseun Olawale, right? So I actually don't have any knowledge. Well, I've watched a couple of videos on this course before, but not really into it deeply, right? So I was or let's say I'm a satisfied virtual assistant, and I'm also into video editing, right? So I actually want I'm interested and I'm happy to join this course. So I see it as an opportunity for me to just enroll on it. So thank you.
Nice one. Thank you. Nice to meet you. So, thank you guys, and welcome once again to this crash course. Let me just say that. It's a crash course because why I said it's a crash course is because we can't really spend the whole. If you need to study this course in one day, the truth is it's gonna take you like over 8 hours. Before you can even say you want to assimilate, to even write the exam. So what I want to do is to be able to pick one or two. Then after the class, if you're interested in maybe um, wanting more of this class, we could arrange for another one just to, set you up for the certification that you want to get. So we can start from there. All right. So Microsoft's Azure Fundamental Introduction, that's what we are doing. Okay. So this is me, Adini. Like I said, I'm just a Microsoft certified trainer, with knowledge of Azure technology. That's just who I am. And I deliver training. Also, I possess a proven ability to design, implement, and manage complex IT solutions. That is just me. So I have a YouTube video if you want to just check that out. I'm not saying you should go there now. So, and my LinkedIn, you can connect with me there. So if you need to, send an email to me, you can see me at oadini.com.ng. I will be there to, respond to anything you have to say. So how are we, or what should I say? What is Azure Fundamentals? For the people that are vast or that have experience, you already know what Azure Fundamental is all about. But for the people that are just getting to know about this class, it is just an entry level class certification from Microsoft Azure. So there is no prerequisite. You don't need to have any prior IT experience, really, you know, to learn. And I will also have to say this, like a disclaimer. It is a second leading cloud service provider, right? The first one is AWS. So I won't come here to tell you that, oh, if you know Azure, automatically you're going to get a job, right? However, if you know Azure, you have that chance of getting into the cloud space. So that is that. Then for the learning path, this is for the people that are willing to write the exam. So we have different modules for this tutorial. For the cloud concept, I think it's you can see it. I think we have 3 modules under cloud concept, 4 modules under Azure architecture services, and 4 modules under Azure management and governance. So the question of the day, who is this certification for, right? Like I said, if you're new to cloud and just want to learn fundamentals and benefit of adopting cloud service in general, and if you are from a non-technical background, like I said, you don't need any prior IT knowledge, such as even if you're a business owner, even a salesperson, you can decide to learn, change your status quo, right? If you want to understand the capabilities of Azure and how to build basic solutions and deploy cloud service in your organization, this course is for you. But there are roadmap. So if you want to, before you start building applications or before you start, I think Bolu mentioned that they're planning to migrate some of their on-prem infrastructure to the cloud. So for someone like Bolu, there's a roadmap. It is not something that you can just jump on and say, okay, just because you have idea of how this works, then all you want to do is to be able to just go on Azure and start doing tests, just try and error. It doesn't really work that way. Fine, you might get it because it's technology and you have idea of technology right from time, but it is better for you to just actually follow the path, follow the path and understand what you're doing. So if you do that, you can see from the roadmap, once you learn Azure Fundamental, you can decide to learn Azure Artificial Intelligence Fundamental. You can decide to learn Azure Data Fundamental. It depends on whatever you want to focus on. Also, if you decide to, after this fundamental course, you can decide to just be an Azure administrator. You can decide to be Azure developer. You can decide to be database administrator. It depends on where your interests lie, right? So it doesn't really mean that you should jump into what you want to do, but you should have an understanding, basic understanding, before really starting out or helping your organization to migrate to the cloud. So let's move on. So the topics we are going to cover in this part of the class is cloud computing, benefits, services, service types as well. Um, what is cloud computing? I believe you've been hearing about this right from time. We've been hearing about cloud computing, cloud computing. Some people don't know, and I know some people understand what this is all about. However, I would like to just tell you that cloud computing is just a delivery of computing services, right, over the internet, enabling fast innovation, flexible resource, and economies of scale. So let me say, just like when you shop for your own computer, cloud computing lets you choose the power and features you need to run your software. The difference is with cloud computing, the PC in the cloud providers, data center, instead of when your PC is in the CSP's provider, CSP's environment, instead of your own data center. Plus, someone else gets to manage the upkeep of your environment, of your computer. You know, each cloud provider will have their own selection of service to choose from, but the basic service provided by all cloud providers are compute, power, and storage. So as you can see, compute, networking, and so with the way this slide is, it is designed to be compute, networking, and storage. But really, what they are just selling to us is just compute power and storage, right? So when I mean compute power is like compute power is like how much processing your computer can do. For example, when buying a home computer, you may choose a computer with 8 gig RAM and the latest processor to run, software you need today. But as the load on the computer grows, you find that it slows down. It will definitely slows down because it will take more of the space, free space. With cloud computing, you can add or remove compute power as you need it. This saves you costs. For the storage, is the volume of data you can store on your computer. That's just it. A traditional computer has limited hard drive space. Let's say if you have on your computer, you can decide to have maybe a 1 terabyte computer, hard drive rather. Once that 1 terabyte is filled up, what happens to your computer? It starts slowing down. Sometimes you experience CPU spike. Over time, you may have to run out of, even if you decide to buy more hard drive, maybe to change that hard drive, over time you may just run out of buying another hard drive to store more data. And with cloud computer, you can request more storage as you need it. Cloud providers, they manage the upkeep of your computer. That's just what they do. So let's move on. For the private cloud, so private cloud are owned, by the organization that uses cloud resource. Organizations create a cloud environment in their data center. So these are the things that you can see. Self-service access to compute resource provided to users within the organizations. So when we are talking about private cloud, I know I know some of you that have your data center in-house. For the people that are into IT already, some of you have your data center in-house. So I believe you understand what I'm talking about. But for the people that does not understand what I mean by private cloud, it will interest you to know that if you work in an organization that have IT department, and they have what's it called? They have their resource in there. They have their domain controller, they have their own router, they have their own networking in-house, they have all those things. That place that is they so most times they call it server room. That's what people call it. They call it server room. That server room can be referred to as your data center on-prem. So if they now decide to move whatever they have in that server room to the cloud, that's when you hear people talking about migration. Bolu mentioned something like that they want to migrate, right? So when they don't want to, because their advantage to having your on-prem data center and their advantage of having your cloud, your data centers in the cloud. So let's talk about the public cloud. What are the advantage of public cloud? It is owned by cloud service provider as well, or hosting provider. They provide resource and service to multiple organizations and users. Like Azure is, you can refer to Azure as a public cloud. They can even as well help you to build your private cloud, right? Also, there's what we call hybrid cloud. This is like the combination of that private and the public. When you have them together, for people that decide to say, I don't want to just have I don't just want to move every of my workload to to the cloud because of security purpose. Some of you might have heard about an incident that happened, I think last month or 2 months ago, when I think they call it CrowdStrike, where so many servers globally, most of them showed blue screen of death. What happened? It is because all of them are in the same cloud space. And this happened to the people that are using Microsoft Azure and the people that are actually using that CrowdStrike, because they use that CrowdStrike to protect their environment. So when CrowdStrike had issues, most of the PCs, Windows PCs that are using CrowdStrike as a security feature, most of them had blue screen of death. I don't know if any of you heard about it. I think this class is now boring. I'm the only one talking.
No, me,
Yeah,
I'm feeling you. I'm feeling you. Go ahead, bro. I'm feeling you.
we had this and we had
All right.
various
All
calling
right.
I'm
about
right
it.
here.
So
I'm
that
here. I have
period,
to, I have to pay attention to it. Sorry. So that's it. Going on,
okay.
bro.
All right. So that period, for I think was it Olayinka that works at Tech Expert? That period, the people at Tech Expert, because I know they are part of the people that supports Microsoft Azure. Most of them had this, you know, pressure that day, or maybe for that week, because most of their customer decided to have they are just raising ticket. They call it support request. Olayinka, am I right? So there are so many pressures from customers
Okay, right.
just because they want to get back online because of the little incident. Should I call it little? It is not that little, because if you're losing money, it is no more little that happened. They just want to get back online and they start calling Microsoft out. So many people say, I even heard that people that I want to travel, they have to write tickets using a biro just for them to board a plane, and that doesn't look good. That's part of the little disadvantage that you see when you are when everything depends on when you move every of your workload to the cloud and cloud space. So also there's what we call multi-cloud. Before I even go ahead, there's what we call multi-cloud as well. Multi-cloud is like you using more than two cloud services at the same time. If you decide to use AWS and GCP and Azure at the same time, we can say you're using multi-cloud. Because let's say this is why people use multi-cloud. I think I should just tell you that for the people, for the organizations that are into Azure already, and they discover that maybe Azure is a little bit expensive, and they now want to switch, maybe try another cloud service provider, and they heard about, oh, AWS is a bit cheaper, can I use it? So they can't just move their workload at once. It's a gradual process. So what they do is, bit by bit, they subscribe for AWS, and they start moving their workload little by little to AWS. So by default, you can experience a multi-cloud situation there, because they are using Azure and they are also using AWS. Even the people using GCP, they might decide to even save some of their data inside GCP, Google Cloud Platform. So that's about multi-cloud. So I just want to talk about cloud model comparison here. For public cloud, no capital expenditure to scale up. But for the private cloud, hardware must be purchased for startup and maintenance, because if you decide to call some of Microsoft engineers to come to your data center to come and set up your private cloud for you, bro, you have to pay for the hardware and the maintenance. So when you talk about the maintenance, there are some people that needs to manage all the hardware that you're buying. So you have to pay them, pay for their service, and you have to even pay for the space, right? For hybrid, it provides the most flexibility. You can decide to have little of what you have, like what I explained, little of your infrastructure on-prem and little of infrastructure on cloud. So by that, you can decide to monitor, secure your workload. Then for public cloud as well, applications can be quickly provisions and deprovisions. It's your choice, because the public cloud is just like you're only paying for the operational costs. For the private cloud, organizations have complete control over resources and control. They are protecting their infrastructure by themselves. They can decide to engage Allogene. I know that there is a security outfit that they can come. Oh, you people should be keeping a server center for us. We don't want anybody. We don't have, want unauthorized access to our server center. So they decide to get the people, the security outfit that will monitor their environment. And also for hybrid cloud, organization determines where to run the applications. So if you have your data center on-prem and you have like some things in the cloud, you can now decide to choose, because you are running this hybrid cloud scenario. You can decide to say, I want to run this application in the cloud, I want to run it on-prem. It's your choice. For public cloud, again, organizations pay only for what they use. Like I said, operational costs or expenditure, it's your choice. So because it is what you pay for, you can't just pay for what you're not using. It doesn't make any sense. But for the private cloud, you are paying for the hardware whether you like it or not. Because if, like in Nigeria, when they seize light, you have to run on generator. So what are you going to do? You have to buy fuel. So indirectly, you're still paying for what you're doing on-prem. For hybrid cloud, organization controls security, compliance, or legal requirements. So let's just move on. I've been talking about capital expenditure, operational expenditure. Okay, basically operational expenditure, and I was touching about the capex as well. So capex is like the capital expenditure, the upfront spending of money on physical infrastructure. Let's say you want to spend money on a building that you want to house your workload, or your infrastructure rather. That your infrastructure is the one housing your workload. So you're going to pay for the rent, you're going to pay for lightning, you're going to pay for chilling, because the AC must be on. if you have so many computers in the server room and you don't want that server room to just be heating up anyhow, or else your computer, most of the computers in the server room will start acting up. For the operational expenditure, you only spend on product and services as needed. They call it pay as you go on Azure. So for consumption-based model, um, like cloud service providers operate on a consumption-based model, which means that end users only pay for the resources that they use. Like I said, what you use is what you pay for. They won't charge you for what you don't have access to. Better cost prediction, no upfront cost, no need to purchase and manage, manage costly, right? Infrastructure that may or may not be used to its full extent. You don't have to pay for that. Even the ability to pay for additional resource when needed. You can scale, you can decide to, add more workload or add more infrastructure if you're using the cloud. That's why they're talking about the consumption-based model on the cloud. So what are the benefits of using cloud? I know some of us know all this benefit, but I just want to explain something that there is something that I come up with. So part of the benefit when they talk about high availability, you know, Azure is highly available cloud environment with uptime guarantees depending on the service. So if you have something like this, when they are telling us that, okay, Azure have high availability, so what even makes Azure have this high availability that they've been talking about? Why should you even subscribe to Azure? A service, these guarantees are part of the SLA. So even for the people that are working in an organization that understand what they mean by SLA, which is called service level agreement, is like a standard industry term. It's like a formal agreement between service provider and the customer that guarantees the customer a stated level of service. So if you can decide to have SLA, even in an organization, an IT team can decide to have an SLA with the marketing team. The marketing team can decide to have an SLA with the C-levels team, the executive team, the board. Because when they try to push, let's say they push an application to the market and they need, at least at a certain time, they want that applications to be making, they want to be making money from that application, right? So for that, they might give them the service level agreement. When do you think we should be expecting a return on this investment? Because you can't invest without expecting a return from that. So the business team should be able to talk about it with, like, sell it to the board that, okay, by so time we should be able to push for this and we should be able to get return on your investment. Imagine you invest 20 million naira on an application, and in another 6 months you're not making money. In another 1 year you're not making money. I don't think that's a good investment. If I'm to be among the board, it's either we shut it down. Maybe if you can guarantee me in another 2 years we might make our money, maybe we can think about that. But they need to have meeting, right? So when you're talking about service level agreement, that is the same thing that Azure have with their customer. But in reality, let me just tell you, there is no 100% uptime. It is difficult. Even when AWS will tell you, or GCP, or any of them will tell you, oh, don't worry, we'll keep you available all the time. There is nothing like 100% uptime. Hence what happened during CrowdStrike and CrowdStrike issue. If you remember, people were offline for days. So now, for the SLA to now, I believe that period they would not have to now study the service level agreement they have with Microsoft. Okay, Oga Microsoft, at this point, you were my computer was off and I was not able to make money. How are you going to? At that point, Microsoft should think that, oh, we need to refund. That is, if it has passed the SLA that they have with that customer. You can see a service with SLA 99% can be unavailable for up to 1 hour. In fact, Microsoft already have that SLA in place. So they have it in place to tell you that if we tell you that your infrastructure will be available for 99%, it means we are telling you that we will not be available for 1.6 hours per week. You know, why are they doing that? It is because they want, so that when they want to, let's say they want to restart their infrastructure, they want to do patching, they want to do maintenance, it shouldn't last more than that hour for that week, more than 1 hour for that week. So even if at all they need to do it, right? That's from the high availability side. For the scalability side, the ability to adjust resource to demand. This part you can see, and there are varieties of scalability, scaling in Azure. They tell you that you can either have vertical scaling or horizontal scaling, where they said vertical scaling is you adding more or reducing CPU or RAM, and horizontal is you adding more virtual machines, more container. For the people that have the idea of Kubernetes and all those things, where you are adding more containers or virtual machines or scaling in, like there's a skill set um, scenario as well in Azure, you know. So that's like horizontal scaling, where you decide to add more virtual machines, and when you decide to add more CPU or RAM, it is like you having like a vertical scaling. So let's move on. Okay, I hope this is making sense. Hello, guys.
Hello, Denny. I had my arms raised earlier, but I think you didn't notice.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I
Okay.
I dropped it already. So
Okay.
I just wanted to, for the benefit of some of us, so the when we have an architecture of from our own premises to connecting directly to Azure using Express Route, and we're talking about public and private cloud. So that particular kind of connectivity, that is Express Route, can we categorize it as a private cloud or still a public cloud?
So
Despite the fact
for
that okay,
okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your question, please.
okay, so despite the fact that we are connecting directly from our on premises, yeah, to the Azure backbone using Express Routes, but we are still within our local data center, then connecting to Azure, which is public, but using a private channel. So can that be categorized under a private cloud or still a public cloud, since we are talking about Azure?
Okay, so that's the part where I explained something on hybrid, where you have private and public together. Like you said, Azure is your backbone, but you also have your on-prem data center. Probably because of security, probably because of whatever, you just have your on-prem infrastructure in place. However, Microsoft Azure serves as backbone, so we can refer to that as uh, hybrid cloud. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, perfectly. Thank you very much.
All right, so let's move on to cloud service type. So here we're just going to talk about the infrastructure, IaaS, PaaS, what are all these terms? What do they mean? I know some of us must have been hearing about them, but we need to know what they mean really. So talking about IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service. Most basic cloud service category, that's what they do. This is, in fact, when Abiodun mentioned something on they having their on-prem data center, this is exactly what most organizations, this is what they do. Because the truth is, should I say they do not really trust, have that full trust in moving to public cloud. So they rather just manage their environment alongside with the public cloud. Let's say the bank now, for a financial sector, they have their on-prem data center. At the same time, they are using public cloud because they don't want their customers' information to be leaked. Yet they are running their on-prem data center and at the same time using Azure or cloud service as backup. I really don't know what is happening in that category. Maybe because they don't fully trust that, oh, public cloud will secure our workload for us, or maybe they just don't want to, they don't want to experience what Microsoft displayed like few months ago, really. But pay as you go IT infrastructure by renting servers, because if you're running infrastructure as a service, like I said, you have it, you can decide to pay for, for renting servers. It's like you rent, yeah, it's like you renting servers in public environments, in public cloud rather. You rent your virtual machines, you rent your storage, you even rent networks and operating systems from a cloud provider. When we are talking about IaaS, infrastructure as a service, instant computing infrastructure, provision and managed over the internet. So for the we have another one that is called PaaS, platform as a service. Here, it provides, like they said, it provides an environment for building, testing, and deploying software applications without focusing, on managing underlying infrastructure. They have no business with what you do, really. As a public cloud, if you decide to run, okay, you as a customer now, you decide to run a platform as a service, and let's say you run a platform as a service, you have no business looking out for what computer is hosting this. That is the work of Microsoft. So the only thing you have access to is to now maybe decide to say, oh, I want to add more to whatever I'm having. I want to do this, I want to do that. But the infrastructure hosting your application, you have no business with it because there are little to what you can actually do. There is another model that they call software as a service. In fact, when you're running software as a service, you can see for those of you that are using Microsoft Teams, for those of you that are using Power Automate, for those of you that are using um, PowerPoint, I believe most of us are using PowerPoint. For some of us that are using Microsoft Office, Microsoft Excel, all this can be categorized as software as a service because Microsoft has developed this software. They only give it to you. All you need to do is just to install it and start using it. You don't even know where this software is hosted. You don't want to know where it is running from or how are they running it. All you care about is this software up and running? If it is up and running, that's fine. If it is not up and running, you can decide to escalate to Microsoft. I'm paying for a service, but I'm not getting um, what I paid for. So this is where they talk about the shared responsibility. You can see for the shared responsibility, everything in that light blue is what Microsoft manages for you. The one in deep blue is what the customer, what they, you know, what they manage themselves. And you can see little with the the this other one about shared responsibility, where we have the lighter blue and the deep blue together. For the people running on-prem, You are the one managing your information, your data. You are the one managing your devices. You are the one managing your accounts and the identities. You are the one managing your application. You are managing your network control as well. You are managing your operating system. You are managing your physical host, physical network, data center. You are managing everything because you are on-prem. You are not that one does not even, we can't call that one cloud. It is your own data center. So we call it on-prem. Now, Abiodun mentioned something on we have our we have our infrastructure on-prem, and at the same time we are using Azure as backbone. I believe that this is what so this what the type of cloud model they are running is called IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service, where they are only managing their information and data. I don't know the reason why they are doing that. They are managing your device. Abiodun, if this is correct, just let me know. You're managing your account and identities. You're managing your identity and directory infrastructure. You're managing your network controls. You're managing your operating system. However, you are the one you are not managing your physical host, and you are not managing your physical network. You are not managing your physical data center. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Thank you. So for the past, where a customer is running, where a customer is running, okay, sorry to admit, okay. So where a customer is running information and data himself, is running, is managing the device, is managing accounts and identities, but is partially managing identity and directory, partially managing application, partially managing network control. We call that platform as a service model. Now, where a customer is just managing the information and data, like the things you type inside your office, you are managing your device, because before you can even use Office, you need a device, you need a laptop, or you need a phone, right? And you have an account with them, but you are now partially managing the identity and directory infrastructure. That is software as a service. Does that make any sense to us? I hope I'm not.
It
I
does.
think, okay.
Does.
Yes.
So, all right.
Okay.
So, thank
Sorry
you,
for.
Abiodun.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank
So
you.
my hands were raised also. And
Sorry, I don't have
I just
access to
want
the
to.
Teams. That's why I can't really
Okay,
see.
okay.
Yeah.
So can we be interrupting you there?
Sure, sure, sure. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Okay. So because I would like us to go back to the parts you mentioned. Uh,
Share
what's it called?
responsibility, right?
Not share responsibility. Yeah, yes. Hybrid cloud, and some of the reasons why organizations do not 100% trust their resources with the cloud providers. So you mentioned security. Yes, security is actually one of them, and one of the some other reasons might probably be due to compliance of data. Yeah, you mentioned that there is a data regulation that speaks about data residency. Like even if you as
Where
an
data
organization
resides. Yeah.
exactly. So even you as an organization actually trusted your cloud provider 100%, you are not still allowed to put some of your customer data on the cloud in as much as they are not within the region of where your data is being processed, right? So which means if we are in Nigeria, some of our data are not meant to be processed of our outside of our region, right? So except if probably tomorrow Microsoft decided to have a data center in Nigeria, then you can say, oh, your customers' data are not actually leaving the region. So you can entrust Azure with your 100% data simply because they already have a data center in Nigeria, or the data is not leaving this particular region. So most of the time, it's usually a matter of compliance versus security. So compliance comes first, data compliance comes first. Then we talk about security. So I just want us to also put that in mind, that one of the reasons my actually is always about compliance actually. except you want to be fined, and the some amount of money that comes after then, it can actually run that organization if care is not taken. So you are just trying to save costs and keeping the data within the region that they are meant to be processed.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for that insight. Thank you. So let's move on to. So let's just move on. There is this part that I want us to, for the cloud service comparison, what I explained about the shared responsibility. They said the infrastructure as a service have the most flexible cloud service. You know, and you can configure and manage the hardware for your application. For the platform as a service, it focuses on application development. You can also platform management is handled by the cloud provider. For the software as a service, it's strictly pay as you go pricing model. Users pay for the software they use on a subscription model. So that's software as a service. So this one, I think it's time for us to just check our knowledge on what we've done so far, if we're actually following. So the first question I want to ask you, which of the scaling involves adding or removing resource such as virtual machines or containers to meet demand? Who
Okay.
wants to go
Can we
first?
answer?
Yes, go
I want
ahead,
to go
Olayinka.
horizontal scaling.
Horizontal scaling. Okay. So what is vertical scaling?
Okay, vertical scaling is adding more RAM or CPU.
Nice one. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Olayinka. So the number two question is, what is characterized as the ability of a system to recover from failures and continues to function? Is it reliability? Is it predictability? Is it scalability?
Reliability.
Reliability. All right. Thank you, Olayinka. That's a good one. So let's just continue. And I think it's two already. And this class is just for um, okay, we have another 1 hour to go. But I don't want to just bore anyone. So if you need to ask a question, please just interrupt. I will listen if you have a question for me. Right. So let's just move on. So now talking about Azure architectural component. Here we are going to describe Azure regions, regions pairs, sovereign regions, like what Abiodun mentioned earlier. He talked about he talked about compliance. Why most customers do not, or why customers will not put their, or organizations will not put their customers' data on the cloud. There's a reason for that. So here we will talk about all this, talk about subscriptions and management and hierarchy of resource groups and all this other likes. So first, let's talk about regions. Azure offers more global regions than any other cloud provider. That's one of the facts of using Azure. I mentioned that they are the second leading cloud platform. However, they offer more global regions than any other, than AWS, than GCP, than Alibaba, than Oracle, than IBM, than all other cloud providers. Regions are made up of one or more data centers in close proximity. You need to know that as well. They provide flexibility and scale to reduce customer latency. Regions preserve data residency with a comprehensive compliance offering. And let me now tell you that you can select regions close to your user. So that one is sure. If you decide to deploy in cloud now, and you feel your customer is in the UK, you should know the kind of region you can. In fact, one of the beautiful thing about Microsoft is when you are trying to develop your application or deploy your infrastructure, there is documentation for everything that you can check. if I have my customer in Birmingham, which data center is close to this customer? So if you have your customer in Canada, which data center is closest to this customer so that I can deploy this customer's infrastructure there? That's one of the beautiful things that they do. And there are global services that are region independent. So also there is something that I want us to explore together, the kind of investments that Microsoft has made. So they have like a global infrastructure, which you can just, if you want to know, okay, what kind of investment are these people? They have been shouting Microsoft Azure, Microsoft Azure. So let's even see the kind of investment they've made. So this is like Azure's global infrastructure experience. Where do they have their data center? How does their data center look like? So we can decide to just check it out. Like I said, one of the beautiful thing about Microsoft is they have a documentation for everything. They have documentations rather for everything they do. So if you're lost or you need to get an information, all you just need to go do is go on your search engine, search for whatever you're looking for, look for the documentation that is closest, or the documentation that says this is Microsoft documentation for whatever you're looking for. So let's just explore the globe as they have it. This is the kind of investment that we are talking about when. So let's just take a tour and see. Okay, virtual Microsoft data center. We've been talking about data center. I believe none of our data center, I don't know where you work, but I want to believe your data center might not, should I use that might, will not, you won't invest in your data center as Microsoft has invested in theirs, because they serve so many customers. So the type of data center you may have will just be, okay, get your infrastructure that will just get your workload running. You won't decide to build a building that is, you know, that you want to spend more than what you're supposed to have, right? So this one is just for me to I want us to assess, like, let's see how the data center look like. So as that one is loading, I think we should just um, move on. So I'll explore this one once it's done loading, just to see how their data center looks like. For those of you that are interested in, even if you decide to work in Microsoft data center, you still need to, see something like this to see how or what you are going to get when you get there. So let's move on. For availability zone, which provides protection against downtime due to data center failure. And they said physically separate data centers within the same region. Each data center is equipped with independent power and cooling and networking, connected through private fiber optics. So how I wish we can have access to um, that view. Let me see. Still loading. All right. So this is how Microsoft data center looks like. So let's just enter the lobby and see what they do. What do they even have in their lobby? So please, you just tell me if you think your data center in your own organization looks close to what Microsoft has built, because I believe they've invested a lot. So if your organization's data center is close to this, I think we would have to applaud that organization, right? So as that one is loading, let's just move on. There's what we call region peers. And they said at least 300 miles of separation between region peers. So if you're deploying anything in a region, just know that there is a region that is paired with that region because of um, failover. Let's say you deploy your infrastructure in East US. There is a default region peer to have a failover, but most times you are supposed to set it up. Because if you don't set it up, it's your choice, but you are supposed to set it up because but at the same time setting it up means you're going to be paying for that. You need to set your region peer. If you deploy in North Central, you can decide to pair that North Central US with South Central US. If you deploy something in Japan East, you can decide to pair it with Japan West. So that when there's an issue in Japan East, by default, you would continue to have your infrastructure or your workload running in Japan West. So let's just move on. There's what they call Azure sovereign regions as well. Like Abiodun mentioned earlier as well, that some organizations, because of compliance, imagine US government services now deploying it in just anyhow public environment. It is not possible. It doesn't really make sense. So US government have their own, they have their own sovereign region that if you're working for the US government, you can't use outside that region except you're doing something personal, really. But if you're doing something that is related to the US government, they have their sovereign region. Separate instance of Azure, physically isolated from non-US government deployment, and is only accessible to screen authorized personnel. You can't just decide to say you want to deploy something and you pick sovereign region. That's US government service for US government. It is not possible. You must be authorized. You must have clearance to even do that. Also, there is another government that have sovereign region, Azure China. That's the China government. You know, they said this is Microsoft China's first foreign public cloud service provider in compliance with government regulations, because in China they tends to regulate most of the things that you do in your cloud environment. So as they are regulating it, you can't just deploy things there. You can't just access it. And it is managed by Azure China 21 via net. So there's a walkthrough that I'm supposed to, okay, I think this is the time for us to have that video on where we just want to explore what is happening, where we just want to explore how their data center looks like. The cloud is an engine that powers our daily lives, which is true. Imagine a data center with a lobby. You have a full screen, you have a big screen like that. You can just look around where there is a receptionist to even tell you, because unauthorized person can't just come here and say, oh, I have a business here. No. Mind you, there's security everywhere. So if you want to decide to even go further, what are they doing here? If they decide to just go further, let me see. Operation room. Let's enter the operation room and let's see what is happening in the operation room. How does the operation room look like? So they had to make this store for people that are interested in seeing what they do and how their environment, their data center look like. These are the people managing the data center. They have their own workspace. They have access to whatever they need to do just to be sure that everything is working fine. Let's even go to the mechanical area. What do they have in there? We just want to see. So this one is just for us to go through round and round and see how all the data centers they built globally, how they look like. It does not necessarily, have effects in this Azure fundamental exam. That's a disclaimer I need to say. Not necessarily that you must understand how all this looks like, because you are not going there to draw. You are going there to answer questions based on regions, Azure data centers. But I feel Microsoft decided to come up with this idea for you to have the physical, for you to see what they are talking about and not just talking and talking. That's why they decided to come up with this. So let's just move on with what we're doing. So for Azure resources, we've been talking about virtual machines. Some of us don't even know what I mean by virtual machines, just like your normal computer, but it is virtual, right? There's storage accounts, there is virtual networks, there's app service. There are components like storage VMs and that are available to build solutions. So if you want to build a solution now, if you want to decide to say you are let's say you're a business owner or you're a developer and you want to build a solution, there is a place you need to host that solution, like an infrastructure to host that solution. You can make it an instance. You can decide to deploy an infrastructure on Azure. So speaking of infrastructure, virtual machine is like an infrastructure on Azure. So when we talk about IaaS, for the app service, you've seen app service. App service, we refer to that one as platform as a service model. For virtual machine, we refer to it as infrastructure as a service. So it depending on whatever you want to build, Microsoft have something for you. So for resource group, it's just a container, you use to manage all and aggregate resources in a single unit. If I decide to go to my Azure portal now and I create a resource group, the essence of me creating that resource group is for me to have a container so that everything that I'm working on will be in a single, will be together in a place. So that when I want to clear that in my environment, I can easily clear them off without stress. Once I delete that resource group, everything will be gone. Then for subscriptions, Azure subscriptions provides you with authenticated and authorized access to Azure accounts. So you must have an Azure account. You must sign up to have a subscription. And I know that there's this free subscription that they give, I think $200. I don't know if it is still functioning for people in Nigeria, but you can give it a try. So if you want to try that, you can go to maybe portal.azure.com. If you're on your system, just go to portal.azure.com. For those of you that are new to this, portal.azure.com, so that you can sign up and check what the offers they have for you. Also, for management groups can include multiple Azure subscriptions. So when you have more than one subscription, so this is where most organizations, when they have different departments. Let's say in an organization where you have the marketing department, you have the HR, you have the developers team, you have the IT team, and you decide to now give all of them different resource groups so that whatever they want to do on the cloud, they can easily do it. That's where management comes in. So I think it is now time for us to just because I've been talking for over 1 hour, but I want to show us how the portal look like, because they are saying we should create a resource and monitor the resource group for the required resources being created. So let's go to. So when I said we should go back to, okay, this one is still loading. Let me leave this. Let's just go to portal.azure.com. So for those of you that are new, please, when you get here, let me know what you're experiencing in signing up for Azure Portal. I know some people says their credit card, they don't charge, but most times they just want to use that credit card to verify if it is not bots that is trying to sign up. So if they can still take your credit card, please give it a try. And let's see. So this is like an Azure portal. You can see you have a virtual machine on your Azure portal, you have resource group, and they said we should create resource group. So these are the things that I worked with recently. That's why you can see all of them here, right? So if I decide to create resource, let me just create a resource. So it will give me list of what I want to do. So for this, you can see the categories of what I can achieve just because I have an account. I can decide to do something on artificial intelligence plus machine learning. I can decide to do something on analytics. I can decide to do something on blockchain. I can decide to do something on compute power, containers, database, developer tools, DevOps, identity. It depends on whatever I know how to do. So when I said this platform is for everyone, if you are a data analyst, it's for you. If you are a developer, it's for you. If you are an IT personnel, just a support person, it is for you. So Microsoft has been able to come up with all this just for you to have easy access to whatever you're working with. So they said we should create a resource group. So if I want to create a resource group, what do I need to do? All I need to do is to come to resource group. I can even search it from there's a search bar here. I can search resource group there, and I come to resource group. All I need to do is just to create. And don't forget, why are we creating resource group? It is for everything that we want to work on to be in a place, in a confined environment, in a confined space, so that when we want to get rid of it, we can easily get rid of that resource group. Imagine me having a resource group now. Let me just name the resource group Azure Fundamental. Fundamental RG resource group. So depending on where my customers are, if I have my customers in US, I can do East US. If I have them in North Europe, I can do wherever I have my customer, because they have data centers almost everywhere. So if I decide to put it on Middle East and I next it, there's what we call tags. There's what we call tags. So this one, it depends on now, when we're talking about if you have people in IT, you have people in developers team, you have people in marketing team, you can decide to tag all of them so that when they are working in this resource group, they know what to click on. They don't just click on anything. Because you as a developer, you wouldn't want someone from marketing teams come and delete your source code. The source code that you decide to save in a storage account and someone from marketing, just because the person does not have the full knowledge or the idea of how to operate the Microsoft platform, decide to just click on delete and the whole thing wiped off. It's going to be a disaster for that company. So that's why most times they always advise for you to use tags. So for the next one, when they say review and create, this is just to validate whatever you're doing. You can see validation passed. So if I decide to just create it, it shows me the deployment process. And you can see somewhere here, resource group created, Azure Fundamental Resource Group. So from here, I can now decide to still come to say, okay, what else do I need to create? Do I have any other thing? Do I want to do anything? Which we are still going to get to this creation phase. But let's just move on. So this is for the lab here. That's the exercise. Okay. So for knowledge check, before we move on again, they are asking what Azure features replicate resources across regions that are at least 300 miles away from each other. Anybody?
Region pairs.
What did you say? Sorry, I didn't get that.
I said region pairs.
Yes.
Oh, region peers. Thank you so much. And don't forget that I mentioned that region peers is not something that just pop up by itself. If you do not set it up, you're on your own. It means if you click something on, Japan East, and you did not pair with Japan West, if anything happened to Japan East, by default, SLA might cover you fine, but if SLA does not cover you, if you do not pair it, you're on your own. So they said at least 300 miles away from each other. So thank you for answering that. Let's move on to. So let's move on to management and deployment tools. And here we are just going to talk about how to, deploy it through portals and describe the Cloud Shell, CLI, PowerShell, you know, purpose of Azure Arc and ARM templates, all this. So tools for interacting with Azure. Now, you can see on my screen that when I created that Azure resource group earlier, I created it from Azure portal. So that's why I can just click, 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 and I'm done. If I decide to use Azure Cloud Shell, it's something that I can do. All I need to is just to write the command to create it. If I decide to use PowerShell, I will just write the command. Command CLI interface too. Just write the command and create it. So these are the tools used for using interacting with Azure. However, it's not limited to just these two alone. It is not limited to just these to these 4 tools that you're seeing, because I know that for the pure proper developers in the house, I believe some of you are interacting with your Azure environment using Visual Studio Code. Do we have any developer here? Okay, no developer.
Yes.
All right, we have somebody. Sorry, who's that?
Olayinka.
Okay, Olayinka. Okay, Olayinka is a developer. Nice one. So, do you interact with your Azure portal using Visual Studio Code? Have you ever tried it before?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So, it's good for you that I'm telling you now that once you launch your Visual Studio Code, it's easy for you to either in fact, most times it's better for you to just use your bash. The same command but you have to, easy connect, log in, and do whatever, set your context and subscription. From there, you can develop whatever you want to develop on Azure from that Visual Studio Code. So once you try that out, you can let me know if it works or not. Right.
Oh,
So moving on. So speaking of Azure Arc, where they said tools, experience, and example, customers use this. They use it on their on-prem. They use it for multi-cloud, and they use it as edge computing. So it depends on how you are. It depends on what you're doing with your what you want to do. I think I should explain this purpose for you guys. Just a moment. So because there is an overview for Azure Arc, like it's a tool and all these experience things where you learn, you can simplify governance and management of hybrid environments. For I think Abiodun mentioned they're using hybrid. Abiodun, have you guys done anything on Azure Arc before since you use hybrid?
Not at the moment, but probably in the future.
Okay. So it just because you mentioned in the future, Azure Arc simplifies governance and management of hybrid environments. So I'm just telling you now so that you can take notes. Do you understand? So you can use it to
Yes, thank you.
manage your hybrid environment by delivering a consistent multi-cloud. If you decide to use another cloud with your Azure, it can help you, manage both cloud at the same time. Do you understand?
Okay. Yeah, got it.
All right. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. So let's just move on. We have okay. There is ARM Manager as well, which provides a management layer that enables you to create, update, and delete resources in your subscription. You know, um, this one there is a, I think there is a template. You can always get that template. So it is like you managing your subscription now with a template. So whatever you want to do, you can use this template. Even if you need to deploy, you can deploy using a template, right? So that template, like I said, Microsoft has been able to help people to develop, in fact, to write everything that they need to do. So all you just need to do is just to change and edit one or two things just to develop or build whatever you need to build. Now that's using ARM template. For the infrastructure as code, now I know there are people that are okay, like was it Ola? Okay, Bolu mentioned something that they are trying to migrate into Azure or cloud rather. Now, when it comes to infrastructure as code, I believe you have an infrastructure on-prem already. Now, how are you going to migrate? And I said you can do it bit by bit. But before you can get to that level of doing it bit by bit, there is a tool, because you wouldn't want to go to your portal and start deploying. Okay, just because you have virtual machines in your environment, you now want to go and click virtual machine one by one. It doesn't work that way. You will spend years deploying just your infrastructure. So most times, what happen is that people tends to use some third party tool, and the third party tools are like the likes of Terraform that to they use as infrastructure as code. So when you decide to use, the truth is you can use ARM templates, you can use Bicep as well, but instead of using all those ones, the simplest one which you can use, or is it that simple? It is not as simple, but it is like easy, because it is there's what they called um it can interact with multi-cloud. Yeah. So that's why I'm talking about Terraform. If you use Terraform as as a tool for your infrastructure as code on Azure, you can as well use that Terraform tool, but not the code on AWS. You can use that same tool on GCP. So that's why it's always advisable that instead of sticking to one tool, maybe you're just the one deploying on Azure and you're just comfortable using Azure ARM template or Bicep, and you decide to move on from your company, and the other company you're moving on to are not using Azure. That company is not using Azure, and they decide to tell you that, okay, we're trying to migrate most of our resources from on-prem to Azure. But we know that the people that are arranging this, they said there is a simpler way to do it. If you have idea of Terraform alone, just know that you are good to go, because all you need to do is to implement everything in the Terraform code, and with a click, you are good. However, it does not mean that it's going to work easily like that. But you should have idea of maybe little idea of coding, so that where you're supposed to have parentheses, where you're supposed to have column, where you're supposed to have some of those things, you should be able to just little idea, but it's not a must. But you should have little idea. So that, in fact, even as a cloud engineer, you should have a little idea. As a DevOps engineer, you should have a little idea. It's not a must. It is not compulsory, but you should have an idea of what all these things, how you can use all of them. You know. So, and I talked about ARM template earlier. I talk about Bicep. All this one you can use it to deploy whatever you want to deploy on Azure. So there is a lab that I want to just do. What is the lab? But before I go into this lab, how many minutes do we have left? We have 20 minutes. Okay, so it's still good. So, but before we go into this lab, I would like you guys to ask questions. If you have any question for me, please. And I know that I have the likes of we have the likes of Wasiu Abiodun, we have the likes of um, what's his name again? Olu, the cybersecurity guy. So I want you guys to ask questions so that we can attend to that before we start, before we go
We
into the
are
lab
still,
of today.
we are still learning. So me personally, I don't really have any question to ask really. So I'm still trying to
Okay.
familiar myself with all this terminology, right? So
All right.
I believe by the time we move on, Sha, maybe, but
All right.
still a good one so far. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Luashio. Hi, Sam. I can see your hands up. You're speaking on mute.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead, please.
So, quick question. I'm still a beginner. I'm only wanted to know if there's like any, I know this is a fundamental course, but is there like any projects that we can like, create basic, simple projects to create and like, showcase on GitHub or something just to have something at least to start off with something.
Okay. That's a good one. So we have different what's it called? We have different labs that we can work on. That's the truth. However, because of some of the people here that are learners that are just joining or that are just starting out in this field, I really don't want to go into that. But however, the lab that we're going to do today is going to be like a little project that we are going to work on before the end of this class. And you see, it's going to give us an output. You'll see the result of actually working with some of the tools that we've talked about. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Any other question? Low. Okay. So I guess we are good to go if there is no question. So we have less than 20 minutes to round up this class. So what I want to do now is, if you can see from my screen, I said deploy a virtual machine, and if possible, I did that on purpose, that if possible, host a website on the machine. So for Sam that asked if you can get something on GitHub, yes, we are going to get something on GitHub with this, and we are going to try and achieve, like, build a website and host it on a virtual machine. Okay, so let's just go on with the class. Don't forget that I created a resource group earlier. So in this resource group, I just want to create a virtual machine. So I hope we can see how the portal looks like. So it is not that complex to find your way around the portal. It's just click and click and click and everything. So if I decide to say virtual machine, so and I want to, you know, I want to, build something on that. Let me just create that. Let me say Okay, so it by default picked the resource group, that I worked on earlier. So I like using when I'm doing something on hosting website, I like using Linux. But however, for the sake of the people that are just starting out in this field, I would stick with Windows machine because I understand most of us here knows how to find our way around Windows environment. So that's why I'm going to stick to that. So let me just say fundamental machine, fundamental VM. That's the name of the machine. So for the availability zone, you can see all the things that we talk about availability, high availability and all this. You can see all of them while you're deploying your workload. So it's just now left for you to, if you need to even know more, if you pick the icon beside everything, you can see what they stand out for and how they use them. For the instance, you can see virtual machine in Azure have two distinct names. All this, if you decide to just hover your cursor around them, you see what they do. So we don't have to be explaining all this. So once you hover your cursor around them, you see how all this works out, right? So I just want to deploy this before 3 o'clock so that we can round up the class. So let's just pick something on Windows machine. Let's say, okay, let's do Windows Server 2016 server. So let me call it tutorial.
Is there a reason why you like to use more Ubuntu than the Windows one, like
Is there a
Linux?
reason why I like to use what?
Linux more than Windows
So
for
like,
the image?
okay, when you mean when I try to host website, right?
Yes.
So for me, it's easily for me to interact with my Linux machine. So I said it that for the purpose of the people that are just starting out, that's the reason I want to use Windows, because Windows is easy for them to, find their way around. It's easy for me personally as a cloud engineer to find my way around Linux. Do you understand that? Because just like a file server, I can move whatever I need to move around easily without stress. But I don't want this class, because this class is a fundamental. So I don't want it to be too complex for the people that are just starting out. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So decide to put a
Very clear.
password here.
Okay. So, can we also say that Linux is more secure? Okay.
So, well, I'm not even talking about the advantage of using Linux machine to Windows machine yet, because this is not the class. You understand? So I only answer the question based on what I just want to do for this class. This class is a fundamental class. So in terms of security, you can say yes, Linux is more secured, but we are not even talking about the advantage of using Linux machine to Windows machine. Thank you, Olainka, for that. Right? It's
Okay.
just you stating the obvious though. All right. So there's a reason why I'm picking HTTP, this port 80. All those ones is not for fundamental class. Let me just tell you. But the part of what is for fundamental class is just for me to create a virtual machine. So this is why I won't go too deep in talking about whatever is happening here. But I just want us to have an idea of how all these things work, so that if you need to move on in this cloud journey, you understand that it's a sweet thing if you know how to find your way around it, if you know how to host, if you know how to, hosting a website is more or less if a developer develops an application or write a source code, it's something that you can help, because some developers don't even have an understanding of how to host their own application. They don't even know what will make that application to be, to have high availability, you know. When we talked about high availability the other time, and I think we didn't talk about all these e-commerce website. During their Black Friday, people tends to bombard their website, and they end up getting slower. Some website even go down. So there is a reason why you as a cloud engineer should understand what you need to do at that point when your organization have this traffic, engaging their website. You should understand, okay, at this point, is where that's where Microsoft Azure said you can scale. There's scalability aspect for you. So how do you set it up? That's for another course. You should understand how to set it up. You should understand how to, load balance. I don't want to lose anyone in this class. So that's why I just want to stick to fundamentals trading. So as we are deploying this, I want to go to GitHub because I want to just pick I want to pick a template that we can use, something we can work with so that we know how these things work out. We have 15 minutes. If you have your question, please, you can just tell me and let's answer it. Website template.
Okay, GitHub is also part of what we were using as a fundamental, right? And
So,
Azure cloud
so,
engineer is part of it, right?
okay, so as a cloud engineer, yeah, GitHub is one of your go-to tools, website that you can get whatever you need to get. If you are
Okay.
having issues, if you need to get a code, GitHub is one of your tools, go-to tools. So it's just like a website, but there are ways
I
you
know
can,
it.
yeah. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
So I just want to let me just pick something from here. I hope this one is up and running. Yes. So our machine is up and running now. So in this machine, let's just say now the major thing I want to use in this environment is this public IP address. That's the major thing that I'm after. Every other thing is what I can be after them when I'm, going too deep into, analyzing this machine. But for now, I just want to stick to this public IP is what I need now at this moment. Let's do something. Now I want to come into this machine. It's just like a normal computer that you have. Let's just say RD. So how do we assess a machine like this? You just copy and paste your this public IP. Can you see it? And it will interest you that I've actually forgotten the name that I used as an administration name for this machine. I know the name of the machine is Fundamental VM, but really, as I was explaining the other time, I've actually forgotten the name that I use as the administrator name. So what I want to do now is to remember this name. I can just come to there is what they call JSON view. Can you all see JSON view? So once I click on it, I just want to here I want to pick my administrator name because everything happening in this machine is like this is like the source code of the machine or the templates you can use to run another machine, a likely machine. So I've seen my administrator name, as you can see, admin username. So I think I use Azure Tutor. So I can go back to and put my username there. Is this making any sense? And I can add my password. And that is it. So it's supposed to open like a normal computer, a fresh Windows server, like a virgin Windows server that nothing has happened on it before. So what you want to do, what are you going to do on it? So this is the Windows server. So the reason why I'm experiencing this slowness is because of the size that I use. Let me show you. I use a very small size. The RAM is 3.5. Even some of us, our laptop is on 3.5 gig RAM. I decided to use 3.5 gig RAM. So that's why you can see this slowness. That's why it's showing that, okay, it's taking time to load. However, Sam, you want to say something?
Yeah, real quick. Sorry to interrupt. So the larger the resource, I mean the allocation of like CPU and storage and all that good stuff, the more expensive will be the subscription or something.
So, they would, if you decide to use 8 gig RAM now, the amount they are going to charge you for 3.5 is going to be more. It's going to be lesser than when you decide to use 16 gig RAM. So, and they are getting the money from your subscription. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
All right, thank you. So this is like a server manager for the virtual machine. Let's say, um,
What is the system requirements for this project, for this program? Like, there are some course that you want to do. They were asking you to provide a laptop minimum of maybe a Core i7 or 32 gig RAM. So that's that. I don't know whether
okay,
that question is a bit
okay,
to
so
answer.
for this, this is not an on-prem thing, right? This is something that we are doing on the cloud. So you can decide to pick whatever size suits you. In fact, let me just state this. It depends on the kind of money or the kind of credit, Azure credit you have. Okay, let me just do something. From this size, I can decide to increase it. Like the question Sam asked earlier. If I decide to increase my size from that 3.5, it's easy for us to do. How can we do that? You can see the size that I'm using here, 3.5. And I just said, why am I even using 3.5? Let me just go and use 32 gig RAM now. It's easy for me to do. All I need to do is just click on it and resize. Scalability. I'm scaling. So if I decide to do this, there's a caveat to this really, because the machine will have to restart. This machine will have to restart. You can see the machine is gone. So it's restarting already. Let's check it. Resizing virtual machine. So if I decide to I decide to just go to 32 gig RAM, and I want to just use that big size because I can't stand the slowness that I'm seeing. Because really, slowness can be annoying. And don't forget, we have just less than 8 minutes. So we just want to round up. So that's why I decided to use a bigger size here. So
All right,
if you
thank you.
check again, yeah, you're welcome, Sean. So if you check again, let's just refresh this page. Let's see if the RAM has changed from 3.5 to 16 gig. Remember, I picked, is it 16 or 32? I can't even remember again. Let's refresh. We have that now. The size, can you see? vCPU now 8, RAM 32 gig. So what I just need to do is to, go back into that machine. Go back into that machine. Let's just do this again. RDP into it. So if you compare the speed of this machine with the other one, you will understand what I'm talking about. That one took time to load. So let's see this. Will it be fast? Will it be slow? Let's see how fast or how slow it's going to come up. Do you see any difference? Do you observe any difference between this machine and the other when that one was coming up?
way
Yeah, this
faster.
is fast.
Yes.
I
Just
think,
because,
yeah.
yeah, just because we decide to resize it. That's just the difference. So now going to the main project, why I said we should just create this virtual machine so that we can decide to deploy or host a website on it. So
Okay, I didn't.
yeah, go ahead,
Hello.
Abiodun. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry for interruption. So I just want to ask, for the benefit of some of us, I want to know if the same way we scaled out our CPU. Is it possible for us to do the same in storage from our SSD or HDD? Is it possible for us to increase the size of the storage as well? Or is it possible?
Exactly.
Is it possible for us to decrease it as well?
So it is possible. So speaking, thank you, Abiodun, for that question. That's a good question. So speaking of your hard drive, imagine the hard drive that I'm using. I'm using 127 hard drive, which is OS disk, right? If I want to change the size of the address, all I need to do is to click on it and go to there is a disk size. You can see disk size. You can see 127 gig, throughput 100, high ups 500, all these ones. So the truth is, why I won't go too deep into this is because this is outside the scope of fundamental. That resizing is outside scope of fundamental, right? But I'm just talking about this just because we ask questions on them. So looking at the story type now, it is easy for us to just change, scale up. If I say I don't want to use 128 gig again, I can decide to come to 512, can decide to go above whatever that is needed. It is my choice. That is if I have the money, the Azure credit, that I will take it. Does that answer your question, Abiodun?
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're welcome. All right, so I just want to pick something from here. Let's see which websites can we work on. Let's see. Okay, let me just see something that says this is really outside the scope. Don't forget, this is outside the scope of fundamental, but it is. I feel it is needed when we are okay. Can we do something like this? Let me see interior live example. Okay, I may not be able to get all this now. Okay, let me just show you something instead of going through this route. When you are inside your server, I believe some of us understand what server is all about or how we use server. If you don't know what server is all about, if you have your on-prem data center, there is, and you have it. Your IT people are always talking about domain controller, domain this, domain that. There's a server. In fact, you can just see a computer like a dead computer in one place. That computer must not go off. There's a reason for that, because that computer might be the one, you know, distributing whatever they are distributing to other computers in your organization. So they need to keep that computer running. They need to keep that computer to be always, working fine. So let me just quickly go here. Let me add rows here. Why am I adding rows? I will tell you why. Because this is a web server. Also, in Azure, it's not just web server you can create. You can decide to create a Windows client. When I mean Windows client, your Windows 11, your Windows 10, you can decide to. So it depends on whatever you want to deploy. So let me just go ahead and so what I want to do, the web server I want to use on this is IIS. I believe some of us must have heard of IIS before. So, and I will show us how this IIS work and where you can find it on this Windows server. So if I decide to just install IIS on this Windows server, just because I want to have, in fact, there's no need for us to go to GitHub because that is way, way, way ahead of fundamental. That's way, way ahead of fundamental. So the reason why I decide to pick IIS to install IIS on this machine is because I want to be able to see IIS when I try to access this machine or when I try to use the public IP of this machine when I use it in any browser. For those of you that are on your computer, I would want you to try this out as well so that you try to access the same public IP that I want to access in my environment, in your own environment, and see if you will see the same thing, right? Let me see. Okay. It's 3 already, and let's just try and as we are waiting for this to complete. So if you have a question, please drop it so that I can answer it before we round up the class. This is the last lab.
So yeah, me, Sam, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
So let's just say that I work for this company, right? A health insurance company.
Sorry,
I need
I can't really hear you. Can you
can you, can you hear
adjust
me
your
now?
mic? Yes, yes, it's fine now.
Yeah, it was kind of far. Sorry. So let's just say that I work in this health insurance company, right? And I get insurance I can see, on their website they are working currently with Azure
Hi, Sam. I'm
Fundamentals.
struggling to hear you.
We can barely hear you, Sam.
Wow. All right, I'll ask the question later on. Let me just adjust my mic really quick.
Okay, okay. Adjust your mic and you can as well
On
drop
your
your
back.
question in the chat. There's a background noise, but you can drop your question in the chat so that we can.
I'll suggest you drop it in the chat so that tablets
Yeah,
can
that's
use
a good one.
not easy.
So, ah, Sam, please, you can mute your mic. Okay. All right. So I've installed the IIS here now, and installing the IIS, there's a reason why I do that. Let me just close this GitHub because it's way ahead of the class. So the virtual machine that I just created now is called Fundamental VM, specifically for this class. So if I pick the public IP and I check on the public environment, we should see something on IIS. So since it's showing, okay, now something just happened. You as a you as a cloud engineer, it is normal for you to experience different things while you're working in your environment. Now I installed something, but I did not restart. And at the same time, I did not confirm if my ports 80, I decided to open port 80 the other time, where from the networking side. So let me just check that and let me restart this. Port 80 is open, is allowed. Okay. So it's bound for you to experience this. So let me just restart this machine and check because all the goal of this lab is for us to use this public IP in a browser and see IIS page. So once you see the IIS page, we are done. However, you can now decide to to change whatever you have in that ISP to suit you. You can put your own page, you can put your picture, you can put your profile, you can put your portfolio. So it's your choice. So it's more or less like you hosting whatever you are hosting, maybe your application, your profile on a virtual machine. So is this one up? Okay, still restarting. So once we have that one, okay, we have it up and running. So let's just refresh this and see if we are going to see the IIS. Okay. To that machine. I want to try and okay. Sam is typing. Okay, so our machine is up and running, and IIS is actually okay. Let me see. Is it installed? If it is installed, we should see it here. Okay. So IIS is installed. To do is to confirm that it is running. So Sam typing.
Hi, I think the problem is you're using HTTPS before the IP address. While creating a VM, you just enabled HTTP.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Who just thank you for that, please. Thank you for that. You can see a simple solution because I wasn't even checking. Because I did been, in fact, thank you for even pointing that out. But really, all I just want to do is to see if I can even change the priority. However, if I decide to select HTTPS as well, let me just select HTTPS here. This. So if I select HTTPS as well, I should be able to see this same page that I'm seeing for the HTTP. Do you guys understand? So for this, thank you for pointing that out. I didn't even look up that. I didn't know that I was actually doing wrong. So thank you for that. And that will be the end of this class. And if you have any question, please drop it and let's and I would like to even hear, let me hear your question, please, before feedback. Guys, you can unmute your mic. I'm done here. If there's no question, do you have any feedback for this training? Okay. When I log to my work computer, I put in my password, temporary password. I log in with my own pass and the username. I can also see that they use the entire M365 ecosystem. They're obviously using server now. So what's your question, Sam? Any other question as we are waiting for Sam to drop his question? Okay.
So I want to ask,
Olayinka, yes, go ahead, please.
how do we go about getting certifications and writing the exams?
Okay, okay. So it will interest you to know that I am not, I am not, I don't have a voucher. So the essence of this class is just to help people, to familiarize themselves with the certification. However, I think in Nigeria the certification costs $55. Yeah, and you can register with any of this person view. I could remember in 2019 when I did this exam. Then I I registered with a person view. I had to go to their center, and so you can just register with if you check online, check any Pearson view. Let me type it here. So if you check this online, you should be able to see where what they charge. But I know when you check it online, it's $55. You can check that. However, if you know that you are interested in having like a personal class with this, you can reach out to me, ni@oadeni.com. Reach out to me so that I can assure you in 2-3 weeks you can get this exam over with. You have your score and you're good to go. With You are going to study though. It's not something I'm just going to tell you. This is what they are going to ask you. But we all on we know how they set the question. We understand the settings, so we can talk about that. And if you need that one, you can just reach out to me at ni at oadeni.com.ng so that we can discuss that. Or you can check Pearson Views Test Center and register for it, $55. Maybe it will even be cheaper. I wouldn't know. But that's that, Olainka.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Adeni. Mine is not a question; it's just a feedback. And the past 2 hours, this class has been a very interesting and an eye-opening session with regards to Azure Fundamentals, and I'm glad that you are able to touch points every basic aspect of Azure cloud side that for a beginner you should be aware of. So I actually I'm glad to be here today, and I I would give you a 10/10 honestly, and thank you for providing this platform for the people who are interested in moving to getting knowledge in Azure side. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Abiodun. That's a good one. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Any other feedback before we call it a day? Any other feedback? Any other feedback? Thank you, Abiodun. I so much appreciate that. Any other feedback?
Yeah, the training was very, very impactful and knowledge filled. We really appreciate you, Adeni. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Olayinka. Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, Sam said 10 over 10. Thank you, guys. This is a good feedback for me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. So that will be all for now. And if you okay, Olashen, you want to say something?
Hi, good afternoon. I would just like, I would like to appreciate you for putting this training together. You and your team. Thank you very much. You did a great job. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for this eye-opening program. And please, I would like to ask, pardon me, the one-on-one session, is it free or it's paid stuff? Just like to know.
So for one-on-one, the truth is I work in a firm, really. So I
Yes, I
wouldn't
know.
really have time. Yeah. So the reason why I just had to say that is because I decided to create time for this and I made it free. So for one-on-one, it might not be free. It's just a token, really. Just to appreciate. Yeah. So that we can, um, yeah, just a token to appreciate. That's it.
Okay, that's fine
Yeah.
because I believe it's best to like
To have the
explain,
expectation.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so that someone will feel like okay after the whole, after everything I've done for this person, and end of the day nothing to show for you, understand? So it is
Okay,
best.
okay, okay,
Yeah, I
okay,
understand. But that's
okay,
just clarified thing.
okay. Thank
Yeah.
you, Olasheni. So it comes
Kudos
with
to you.
a token.
Thanks.
It comes with
Yeah,
a token. Thank you, Olasheni. I appreciate that. And it's
very
good
much.
even how to mention that it comes with a token. Really, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one. So, guys, thank you so much for joining today's class, and I appreciate you guys. I don't take you guys for granted, and I hope this help you guys in your cloud journey. For those of you that are just starting out, you are doing well. So, see you guys when next you are interested in seeing me. I appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.
And you too.
All
Bye.
right, bye. Bye,
Yeah,
everyone.
All right.
bye.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.